G'day, mate. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you, mate. First of all, congratulations on a stirring win for the club last weekend.
Yeah, thanks very much. It was obviously a well-needed win for the club, and a game we went into pretty confident that we could get the win. And we're lucky enough that we played some pretty good footy and came away with the 4 points.
Now, I'm sort of tipping that there might have been some hard-hitting home truths delivered to you boys before the game, which sort of fired you up.
Yeah, we had a couple of meetings during the week and just sort of just decided that we probably weren't going to stand for the performances that we've been putting up for the last couple of weeks. And we are lucky enough that those words hit home pretty hard to a few blokes, and we're able to come out and play some good footy.
The football public was shaking their head as to how you could have been so competitive against Geelong earlier on and then just really dropped the ball. I mean, is there any reason for it? Were you able to put your finger on any particular thing that you could point to?
No, we weren't 100% sure what was going wrong. We obviously knew that our best was good enough, as we proved against Geelong, and we obviously weren't able to play our best footy over those coming weeks after that. And a bit of soul searching done over the bye, and then a gritty win against Gold Coast, and then able to put up a good performance against Adelaide.
It was a gritty win against Gold Coast, and I suppose if we go back a couple of weeks, it was that match against Hawthorn that was probably, I would think, the most disappointing for not only the coaches but definitely the players. 115-point loss to Hawthorn in Launceston just wasn't where you wanted to be at, especially when you're trying to promote yourself to a Tasmanian market.
Yeah, that was obviously a very disappointing game for us. They'd been built up as a huge clash. We'd been going not too bad, and obviously we all know how well Hawthorn are going, and we'd matched up against them, had some really tight tussles against them down in Launceston, and we were expecting another tight tussle, and we just got completely outworked and outplayed that day, and that's what happens, a 115-point loss. A
near best on ground performance for you against the Crows, mate. You really picked up the stick and ran with it.
Yeah, it's been about time. I've had a pretty disappointing year by my standards, so to actually be able to come out, get my hands on the footy and play some decent footy was pleasing.
And also some other great performances from some other young guys as well. Ryan Bastanak, Jack Zeeble, Sean Atley, Sam Wright, all amongst some of the Roos that really took up a heavy workload in that game against Adelaide.
Yeah, we sat down as that sort of mid-tier group over the last few weeks and sort of said that we can't be leaving it to Boomer and Drew and Andrew Swallow every week to be leading the way, and we identified that we were the ones that probably weren't pulling our weight in those big losses, and we knew that we needed a big lift from that tier of players if we were able to be competitive against the best teams.
It's been an interesting situation for the Kangaroos this year. Injury-wise, you've effectively had none. I mean, you've had a couple of blokes on the injury list per week, and that's about it. So each week the competition has been there on the training track for positions. That competition, though, didn't necessarily translate to big performances on a Saturday or Sunday. Yeah,
our medical staff's been brilliant this year. We've unfortunately just lost Tommy Curran for the season with a foot injury, one of our new draftees. But apart from that, we're flying on the injury front. And you're right, there's some very talented players that aren't playing in our team at the moment that could probably be getting a game. And the competition's definitely there. And blokes have been put on notice that if they don't perform, they will be out of the team. But it hadn't accumulated to some good performances. But hopefully the win against Adelaide's the start of a turning season for us, so we can march back up the ladder.
Externally, the game of Brent Harvey Boomer against Gold Coast a couple of weeks ago, I think a lot of people just pointed to the fact that he's still got it. How was that taken internally? For him to match it effectively possession for possession against a guy like Gary Ablett was amazing.
Yeah, with the bloke hanging off him the whole game as well. Just he's still getting tagged week in, week out. For a bloke of his age to be still putting out those numbers, and he's a freak of a man, and he just runs his guts out every week. And when he's not getting those possessions, he's still doing the team things, which is all we want internally.
You mentioned it before, and I think it's a really important point. The fact that so much was left to so few, and guys like Drew Petrie and Boomer Harvey were the guys that probably took a lot of the workload where they probably didn't have to.
Yeah, definitely. It was, as I said before, it's those mid-tier blokes, myself included, from probably 6 to third-year players that need to stand up week in, week out, and chop these blokes out. Because they're not going to be there forever. And if we're going to be part of a premiership team, it's that next group of blokes who are going to have to be coming through and starting to get tagged, so Boomer can maybe get open for a game or two and break a game open. And Yeah, we've seen those signs from blokes like Sean Attlee and Ryan Bastanak on the weekend that they're starting to take that next step up.
Mate, for yourself, you've been in the system now in playing AFL for, I think, the best part of 5 years, elevated from the rookie list in 2007 where you replaced Lee Harding. How's it all going for you?
Yeah, obviously it took me a couple of years to a few injury interrupted years to finally get going. But yeah, I'm feeling pretty confident. I've had, I think, 2 pretty solid years at AFL level, and I'm sure if I'm playing my role each week, I'm going to keep my spot in the 22. But this season probably hasn't been my most consistent seasons. Just don't think it's been as good as probably the last 2. But hopefully, a half decent game on the weekend can sort of kickstart my season for the second half.
And unfortunately for you, 2008 was one of those seasons that you wanted to forget, I suppose. Your second year playing footy, and you were out for most of it with an ACL tear. Yeah,
I was unlucky enough to do that knee that year, but I look back on it now and I learned some really good lessons about knowing my body and what I needed to do to get up week in, week out after coming back from that knee. And it's a pretty tough time on the sidelines, and it's a lot of hard work. But I think once you do get through it, you come out the other side a better player, knowing the work rate that's actually required to come back from a knee.
And unfortunately for you, it was 2 years from that injury until your next game, which was in 2009, round 15. So a massive, not just recovery process, but I suppose for you it was getting confidence back in your leg and proving to the hierarchy that you can play competitive footy again.
Yeah, obviously I was very thankful to North Melbourne throughout that period. For a bloke not to play footy for the best part of 2 years, they can start to probably worry if he's ever going to make it again. But they persevered with me, and which I was very thankful for. And yeah, as I said, I just had to get the knee right. I've had a couple of little hiccups throughout that 2009 season, but was lucky enough that towards the end of that season to get back in, and haven't really looked back since.
All right, Lee, what's next for the Kangaroos? I mean, you're in a situation now where you're sort of in a group of around about 4 or 5 teams that could probably take either position 7 or 8 on the ladder, and that's going to be hard and really toughly fought for by those 4 or 5 teams over the next few weeks. Are you guys confident you can take the next step and get yourself into that finals position?
Yeah, we are. We're going to get a very good reality check of where we're at the next few weeks. We've got St Kilda, we've got Richmond coming up, and teams around that, Carlton as well, that are really around that 8th spot. So, it's in our own hands. If we're able to beat those teams, I'm sure we'll make the finals. And if we don't, we probably don't deserve to be there. So we'll find out in the next few weeks, I suppose. Even
more so than previous years. It is consistency, isn't it? If you drop your guard for a couple of games, that could be the end of your season.
Yeah, you look at how close it is. If you're off your game, any team in the AFL can beat you, and it only has to be for a quarter, as we found out against Port Adelaide a few weeks ago. So you just can't drop your guard for any amount of time in any game against any team. You'll get beaten, and we found that out the hard way a couple of weeks ago.
Mate, congratulations on your form in the last couple of weeks. It's been great to see. Hopefully the Kangaroos can keep moving forward, and who knows, a spot in the top 8 beckons in the next 10 or so weeks, and hopefully you guys can be there. Thanks for your time today.
Cheers, thanks mate.
Leigh Adams joining us from the Kangaroos. We'll be back with more in just a tick.